G'day ladies and gentlemen, today we're going over the Galactic Empire, the successor state to the Old Republic. It stands out as the antagonist of the Star Wars story, but it provided the means of survival to trillions, and might even be in the right side of the Galactic Civil War. Allow me to set the scene in the perspective of the wider galaxy. 4 Jedi Masters attempt to assassinate the amazing Chancellor, who is protected by a young Anakin Skywalker. He reveals a plot by the Jedi Order to overthrow the government, and Palpatine executes Order 66, a command to the military to kill the treacherous Order. Afterward, the scarred Chancellor makes one of the best speeches in movie history, forming the first Galactic Empire. It's bad to begin anywhere but with the Emperor himself, the single autocrat of the Empire. The Emperor is not affected by any legislation, bound to any laws, or required to follow any regulation. Monarchies usually follow 2 forms, either absolute or constitutional, and the Galactic Empire falls into the absolute category. The Emperor led his realm from the planet Coruscant, which is the capital of the former Old Republic as well. This is in stark contrast from the democracy that came from before, which you can learn about in my last video. His heir would also be his chief enforcer, but that rank was informal, meaning it didn't actually fall into the Empire's hierarchy. Vader was a military man, and was the fist of the Emperor, but no one knew where he fell in authority. His powers and duties would be dictated by the Emperor on a case-by-case basis. His official second in command was the Grand Vizier, which was responsible for running the Imperial Ruling Council. The Imperial Ruling Council represents the Emperor's commands, and actively handles the day-to-day administration of the Empire. This is a separate entity from the Senate, which still existed to rubber stamp legislation and give a quote-unquote voice of the people. One of the main organizations of the Empire was its military. There would be 2 main branches, being the Army, which were the ground forces, and the Navy, which operated space fleets, and 2 notable semi-autonomous branches, being the Stormtrooper Corps, which was the Special Forces, and the Starfighter Corps, which was attached to the Navy and acted like an air wing on aircraft carriers. That being said, there were likely hundreds of different military variations and smaller associated organizations. The Imperial Guard, Imperial Inquisitors, Imperial Intelligence. There's a lot of Imperials. The military acts with high-reaching authority, with the lines between civil and military leadership often being blurred. Its higher leadership would be formed by individuals called Moffs, which are regional governors of the galaxy. This body was led by its Grand Moff. One of the Empire's biggest changes was the centralization of power, a tenet that removed layers of local authority. The Empire had a goal of integrating its planets to a common purpose, but many of the planets that showed loyalty were often given much autonomy and were free of any sort of military occupation. This trend was more pronounced in the Empire's core worlds, while the Outer Rim would often find itself on the losing end of the stick. Coming to the divide between core and outer rim worlds was at the heart of the Empire's political doctrine called the New Order. The Galactic Empire distrusted non-humans and used large amounts of propaganda to fulfill its goals. The Galactic Empire really embodies a typical fascist state, combined with many of the institutions that made the Old Republic, which I think is really genius. A lesson on politics is legitimacy, whereby the government has the actual power to rule. The Empire often pushes away from the Old Republic when it comes to its problems, but many of its institutions that worked were integrated in. The Senate remained a part of the Empire until the Death Stars were made, for an example. That being said, the Empire would only last for 2 decades and would collapse after the death of its first Emperor and Chief Enforcer. Splitting into several warring realms, the New Republic would take the lead and become the dominant power in the galaxy. Now, I won't be doing any videos on the New Republic anytime soon, and instead I'll be doing other sorts of videos. I'll see you guys soon, and this is our signing off.